Thank you everyone for joining. I always appreciate having everyone on the Zoom, giving information, letting you guys know what our students are up to. Um, as you all know, we got hit by Hurricane Milton last week. We ended up having to close down for the entire week. Collier County Public Schools announced that, I believe it was late Saturday night, and then they announced on Thursday that there's, or Wednesday that there's no school on Friday. We've all been kind of playing catch up, but you know us, we're always on our toes. So we're always working with the students to try to get them everything they need. I'm gonna start sharing my screen. If at any moment you have a question, you have a comment, you want to say something, unmute your microphone, shout it out. I always welcome those because I always welcome discussion. So I will go ahead, start sharing my screen. All right, everyone should see my presentation. Okay.
Yep.
And I apologize if I'm a little delayed. I'm not in my normal setup. Because of the storm and all the adapting we had to do, I am coming to you from Immokalee High School from an empty classroom that I found that I have access to. So um, just so everyone knows, this is our second Junior Mentor Zoom. I did want to always, as always, say, sorry, again, not my normal setup, so not as quick as I normally am. If you're having any technical difficulties, send me a text. I still have my phone on me, so if you need anything at all, happy to help. Um, ooh, as always, I'll go over the team. I'm gonna cover the SAT and ACT again, a little bit more in depth this time around, along with something that we're providing to our students. Gonna talk a little bit about our highly performing juniors, and then, of course, just rewrapping it all in junior year. Um, I would not be able to do the amazing work I do without the amazing team that we have. I oversee all our programming. Anita works with our seniors. Esmeralda works with our sophomores and juniors, and Islam with our freshmen and middle school students. So something that I kind of shared before we officially started, Leadership Day. That is an annual event for our students to participate in a day of activities where they get to meet professionals, speakers, they get some workshop presentations. Now, typically, this is done on a no school day, and you know, no stressors, no worries. It's no school. We pick them up at the center. We take them out to the venue. We feed them. They do their workshops. We bring them back. Now, because of Hurricane Milton, we got closed all of last week, and that caused Collier County Public Schools to shift the end of quarter 1 for the school year, which ended up turning this Friday, which was a no school day, into a school day. So that kind of caused a little bit of panic on our end. We were looking at different dates, different venues, different things. Ultimately, because of our relationship with Collier County Public Schools, we were able to get it classified as a field trip. So it is still going to take place on Friday. The reason I wasn't able to include it when I initially sent it out was because it was so up in the air. We didn't know what we were going to do, that I didn't want to mention anything in case it got pushed back to the spring. But what will happen with the juniors and seniors? So something that I encourage you guys to talk to your students about either before the event or after the event. They will actually go to their first period class at school. And then once first period is over, they will go to the bus and we will transport them out to the venue. They're gonna get to be at Vineyards Country Club for the day. They will get a presentation from three different professional three different professionals in different careers. They're going to ask them a variety of questions. So it's kind of going to be like a Q&A, but they'll be able to hear from them, talk to them. Then they're going to go into lunch along with an etiquette presentation. Elizabeth, correct me if I'm wrong, but we actually have a presenter who's going to teach them about formal dining. I know that is something that is one of our biggest weakest points because we don't get the chance to often bring the students to a formal dining setting and teach them, you know, this is your fork, this is your spoon, this is your other fork, this is your other spoon. I myself am not super comfortable with it because I'm used to eating burgers and chicken wings, but that's a different story. But this allows the students to kind of feel a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more prepared for life after high school when it comes to that dining setting. They'll have a keynote speaker. And then what's really cool about the day is that it's almost like a conference. They're going to get to go to different workshops. So for the first workshop, the juniors and seniors each get split in half. and they get to cover one of 4 different topics, which is networking, goal setting, credit, and self-branding. So with networking, what we saw on our end was that our students aren't great at it, which to be fair, most high school students are. How comfortable would you be as a 17, 18-year-old walking up to a complete stranger, introducing yourself, telling your life story, and then telling them to either hire you or partner with you? Understandable. So we have a professional coming in to speak to them about those aspects, about getting more comfortable with that and learning to communicate with a variety of people. Sorry, can't see. Our workshop on goal setting will be talking about not just high school, but college and in careers, how they can be setting career and personal goals for themselves, and not only setting them, but how to accomplish them. Joe Scondotto from Comerica is going to come out and actually do a presentation on credit. The high school students, the seniors specifically, are going to be turning 18, which is, really going to be an adult, and then they can sign up for credit cards, which is not what we want them to do. But because that opportunity is presenting themselves, he's going to teach them about how to do it wisely and how to use it to their advantage and how to make sure that they don't accidentally ruin anything for later on. And then the last one is self-branding. So that one is kind of their image that's out there. So social media, along with professional networking websites such as LinkedIn, putting those photos out there, putting those posts out there, what the world sees when they look at them and how the students can kind of improve that. So this is all happening Friday and it's classified as a field trip. What we're also able to do is we are also ending it at 1:55 from Vineyards. We're bringing them back to the high school, and then they will go to their work sites. So we're not impacting after school either, because as everyone knows, the work in the after school gets heavily impacted by the tutors. And because we're taking all the juniors and seniors, we were effectively removing half the staff, which we can't have happen. So we're ending it early enough that we're getting back on time. It was definitely a very stressful 2-3 days, but we got through it. The other thing that we also do for our students is, because it's a leadership day, we ask them to dress professionally in professional attire. And so what ends up happening is that about 5 to 6 students may not have professional attire. They may not have had the opportunity to get that nice dress shirt or a nice dress or a nice pair of pants, or even sometimes even shoes, because they're just used to wearing sneakers everywhere. We put out word to them so that it can be discreet, but the student lets us know whether or not they have that professional wear. So again, because of my great team, Anita and Esmeralda today after school are actually taking them all, the ones who don't have that professional attire, to Gulf Coast Town Center in Estero/Fort Myers area to find that professional clothes. And they're going to be giving them advice on what to wear. So they'll have the proper tops, proper bottoms, proper shoes. And because we know that can get kind of pricey, we are covering that cost for the students. That way everyone feels comfortable with it, they're happy with it. And Anita and Esmeralda are not only going to make sure that it's the proper professional wear, they're going to make sure it's something that they can also use next year, either as a freshman in college or as a senior in high school. And that way they don't have to stress about that aspect when it comes to anything like that. I think they do a great job when it comes to clothing. I'm no professional. I'm just white shirt, black shirt, khakis, or black pants. That's all I know. And I could never give advice to a young lady because I have no idea. So that's why Anita and Esmeralda. And then what we also do is we have them write thank you notes afterwards to the presenters and speakers, so that they also know at the end, like, hey, when you have a professional, you have someone helping you out, you write that thank you card. So Leadership Day overall ends up being a great day for the students to progress themselves. Any questions on Leadership Day before I move forward?
I have a comment. Thank you so much, Daniel, for doing this, for turning it into a field trip and doing all this for them. I'm so glad to hear. I was going to say, could you teach them how to do thank you notes? Because when I do something for my mentee, I don't want her to write me a thank you note necessarily, but I want her to learn how to write thank you notes. So when somebody else that I know did something good for her, I sent her a box of little thank you notes, but I don't think they were used, because I don't think kids or even young adults these days understand the value of a handwritten note. Text is okay, email's okay, but a handwritten note is really sets you apart. So thank you for including that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think part of that, number one, say thank you. Never assume anything. Just say thank you. Handwritten note is much more important. And that's part of networking. I mean, you want to brand yourself. And if you know, if you have a contact with a person and you don't write a thank you note or something personally, they're not going to be a good contact for you.
Mhm.
That's great.
Yeah, so it is hard for as a mentor to say, I want you to write a thank you note to me, because I don't necessarily want that to happen. But
Mhm.
I want them to write thank you notes to other people that do nice things for them, because that really sets them apart in the business world.
Yeah, and sometimes we provide a networking contact for them. And then if they don't send
So
them,
thank you for all of
yeah,
this.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we?
We'll be sending you a note shortly.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. The students, again, it's all about them. And if it wasn't for the great team we have behind us, none of this would be possible. They set it all up, and I think it's awesome. Any other questions or comments before I keep going?
Is it this Friday or some future Friday?
This Friday.
It's wow.
Wow.
You
Yeah,
pulled it off beautifully.
thank you. Yeah, Nelly did a great job of setting up the workshop speakers and everything. And I know she was panicking more than everyone when it came to Collier County saying, hey, there's school on Friday now. So again, it's all thanks to everyone. I shared during the last Zoom meeting that every tutor core student is required by the program this year to complete both the SAT and ACT during the junior year. I just want to hit that once more again, just because we do have a few new mentors in the call and are watching the recording. So I did just want to share that again and include the breakdown for the tests because many of the students actually registered for the October test that took place this past Saturday, and some will be taking the ones in December. For those who are new, the ACT has 5 sections and the SAT has the 3 sections. Both tests are very similar, but what is always recommended to the students is just to study the content. And then once they take the test, they can realize which structure they prefer more. Do they prefer taking smaller breaks and doing 5 different sections? Or if they prefer to take longer tests, but only 3 sessions. Sorry, it's been a long day. But this way the students can kind of know and understand which one they're more comfortable with, which one they're able to tackle a little bit better. ACT, the writing section is optional. I haven't seen a school that requires it, so it is not a requirement. We don't require the students to take it. We do recommend it just in case, you know, a school ends up needing it, but I haven't seen any of those happen so far. Apologies, I'm at the high school, and so if the intercom goes off, I didn't plan it, it just happens. So right now I will stop sharing my screen. What I wanted to do is actually share with everyone the Magoosh portal that we provide to the students. So for anyone who may not have been on the last call, Magoosh is an SAT and ACT test prep portal. We pay for every student to have an account. This better allows them to prepare for those tests. And even if your student says, oh, I'm taking the SAT, but I got ACT prep, you can still tell them, you know, you still jump onto that portal, you're studying the material, and the only difference is the structure. Pull that up. And sorry about the slowness. Not my normal setup, so I only have my one laptop screen. But this is what I see when I log in. So I get to see the class of 2026 and the class of 2027. So we can monitor what the students are doing in their account. When the student logs in, this is their portal. This is what they see. They have their top dashboard with reading, writing, math with a calculator, math without a calculator, practice tests, and assignments. So they're able to jump into any section that they would like to participate in. If they want to practice a specific subject, they just scroll down and this is where they can find it. What's really great about Magoosh is that they can access it from a computer, from a phone, from a tablet, from wherever. It's not a problem. They can just use that email and password that they were emailed. But what's also great besides that is that Magoosh provides SAT and ACT tips and strategies. So for example, in this one, I have an SAT account for the student. So the videos provide what's on the SAT, how does the scoring system work, how they can use guessing and elimination to their advantage, learning from their mistakes, what to do on test day, techniques to reduce their stress, and should I take the SAT or the ACT? Now, something I will add, what used to be done with the SAT and ACT and what used to be said about it was that if they got an answer incorrect, then a point or half a point or 3/4 of a point would be deducted from their overall score. That doesn't happen anymore. So we tell the students, if you don't know and you're out of time, put a letter. Doesn't matter which one. My personal preference is C because there's always at least 4 responses. Some questions have all the way up to E, but not all of them do. So we wouldn't want a student to answer E when that wasn't even an option on the question. What we also tell students is that if you pick the same letter, then you have a 1 in 4 chance for all the ones that you had to guess on. And if you switch your answer on every one, you reduce your chances of getting it right because, you know, the answers change. And it can be stressful, but, you know, that's how we approach it. Sorry, gotta move the window. And then, of course, there's also additional resources that Magoosh provides. They provide flashcards, an ebook. They provide the app on the phone. They provide study schedules. They provide resources like that. So what I'll do right now is I'll just click on a quick section so you guys can see. So this is the reading portal once they click on it, and they'll be able to see what their estimated score would be once they answer enough questions. So in this case, it'd be 52. That way they can understand what their potential score would be if they were to take the test. Their average question pace. So I shared with everyone the structure and the time and how many questions are in each one. So then they can kind of calculate how much time do I have on each question. And if they're going over it, it'll be in red. And if they're having enough time to get to all the questions, it'll be in green. The guided practice and custom practice are different. I always remember guided just because the students don't spend enough time on Magoosh to be able to know what kind of custom practice they need. But what's also great about these is that not only are they providing them with the strategies to the tests, they're also bringing in like wrong answer choices. So how to identify those, how to find those. And then they even break it down by subject. So line reference and keyword, inference questions, vocabulary and context, main purpose. If a student goes into their SAT portal, they're able to see the breakdown of which sections they got most wrong or most correct, so they would know which one they have to study the most. Now, not every student's gonna be proactive like that. We try to get them to be as proactive as possible. But what I share every year is that if I knew what it took to motivate teenagers to take a test seriously that may not impact them this year, and it won't impact them for another 1.5 years. If I knew what it took to do that, I'd probably be a millionaire because I'd sell that idea and I'd never have to work again. But teenagers are teenagers. They'll start panicking about it about a month before the test actually happens. Funny thing is they panic about it for like a day and then they forget about it for a week. And then 3 weeks before the test, they're panicking about that test taking place. So we always just recommend students to take as much time as they can to study. No matter who it was, every student that's gone through the program, every student that I've talked to who has done the SAT and ACT and graduated high school, one of the things they always say is they wish they had spent more time preparing for the SAT or ACT. The more time they spend, the better their score is going to end up being. That's what we want. But again, sometimes it's procrastination in its best definition when it comes to the high school students. But just to also give everyone a quick view of the math sections. As soon as it loads, sorry. Very similar, again, introduction to the subject, strategies, using mental math, arithmetic, decimals, fractions, more fractions, percentages, things that pop up on the test, ratios, fundamentals, everything that's going to be on the test is in this portal. They can use it. They give them videos, they give them quizzes, They give them examples and what to watch out for. It's an extremely beneficial portal. Now, I will stop sharing my screen. Now, I shared with everyone that high school students procrastinate. So what we do on our end to kind of try to avoid that, every Wednesday, the juniors come into the meeting room. So your students are coming in today for a mentor meeting. If there's a professional speaker, if there's a mentor call, that's what they do. If there's not, we have them sit in the classroom, pull out their laptop, and do the prep. This way, we tell them all to spend an hour a week at home doing this portal, doing this prep. Does that always happen? I can't promise you that it's yes, but at least this way we know for sure when we don't have a presenter that they're on this portal and they're using it. This is the best way that we can think of to do it, because this way they're in front of us, we're watching them, and it's not just that they're logged in and that's it. We're watching them actually complete the activities, the practices, everything that has to do with that. And they're in a classroom with their peers. So yes, they can talk and take little breaks, but we're there to tell them, okay, guys, go back to your portal. Okay, go back to answering questions, go back to studying. And this kind of helps them a little bit more. Any questions on that before I go to my, Nancy? Oh, Nancy, you're on mute. Here, I'm gonna hit a button and you're gonna
Here,
get a pop-up.
it's over
Oh.
there. I got it. I got it. Thanks. Back in the day when I took the ACT, it was fill in the squares, you know, or the circles. I assume everything's electronic now, right? So you mentioned a laptop. Do all the kids get a laptop from the program?
Every student gets a laptop from Collier County Public Schools. They get it checked out at the beginning of freshman year and they return it at the end of senior year. If they ever
Okay.
have any issues such as the computer overheating, their charger doesn't work, or their computer's glitching, they take it to the library and the library gives them a replacement or fixes it for them.
Okay. And do they need to have internet at home to be able to use this app?
Yes, no student has come to us yet saying they don't have internet at home. And if they ever did, we have the resources to find where they can get free Wi-Fi, free internet at home.
And then last question, in this region, because I assume most of the kids go to college in this geographical area, is there a preference for the ACT or SAT? Or
There
is
is
it
no
better?
there's no preference by the schools. For the Florida State University system, they require either a 1050 on the SAT or a 21 on the ACT. Most students prefer the SAT. I'm not sure why. When I was in high school, most students prefer the ACT, but that is just what they prefer now. As long as they get a 1050, then it's all good. They can be accepted into the universities here in Florida. Florida is one of the only states left that requires an SAT or ACT score. A lot of our partnership schools are test optional. But because our students majority of the time want to stay close, about half the time want to stay close to home, they need to have that test score. If not, community college is always an option, and then they can transfer over to the university where the transferring isn't dependent on the ACT and SAT score.
And how many times can they take the test?
So each student receives 2 SAT waivers and 4 ACT waivers. Those are free, provided by Immokalee High School. If they need to take the test more than that, they just have to pay for it. If that's an issue, we meet with the students to kind of talk them through a plan and kind of help with that. Typically, most students don't need more than those waivers because we tell them to use one each to figure out which test they prefer. Then once they figure out which one they prefer, they take their next waiver and be able to prepare for that one the most out of anything. What Collier County teachers and administrators always say, I don't know if it's true, but they always say that the test in June is the easiest. I don't know why, but they do always share that. I believe it's also partially because the students finish their junior year, which is what a majority of the material covers. But you never know. So, but we do tell students they have to take each one at least once, and ideally they have their score that they need for school before they start senior year, but taking the test in August, September, October is still an option.
Thanks.
Daniel, in our last mentor meeting, when you were talking about Magoosh, I think you indicated that you have a way of monitoring how much time the student is doing Magoosh, and you want each student to do it at least 1 hour a week. And if they don't do that, they get a little message. Is that
Yes, so Esmeralda and Anita are the ones, sorry, Esmeralda, because she has the accounts, overseeing the sophomores and juniors. I have like a other level administrator account. She goes in to make sure that they're spending that time, and then she'll email them if they're not spending enough time on
Okay, I think that's important.
Mhm.
Reminders. Yeah.
it. Yes, definitely.
So Daniel, can we communicate with Esmeralda about our student, or is there a privacy issue there? To find out if they're, if they need some support on our end, if they're keeping up with their weekly practice and so forth. Or like when I talked to Z about her grades, everything's fine. Everything's always fine. I never actually get any numbers, any GPA, it's always good.
Yeah, it's always good, even when all the assignments are missing. It happens with every student. What I do request for mentors, if they reach out to me, I get with whoever your student's coordinator may be. I get with them, I get a little summary, and then I send it off to you. Only reason being is that way Esmeralda, Anita, and Islan can focus just on the students, and they don't have to worry about compiling all that. I'll do that for them. What I can also do is I can log into the students' focus portal, check their grades, check their attendance. So if you'd like to know, I'm always happy to send those along with Magoosh summaries. What I will also share, I don't know why high school kids do this. It's not just with us, it's also with the Montclair Foundation, Boys and Girls Club, everyone in the county. High school students do their work. They just don't turn it in. And Islam is seeing that they do it at the middle school too. And it blows our mind. They spend an hour or two doing this work, doing the essay, doing the portal, doing the math worksheets, and they just don't turn it in. And so at the end of the quarter, they go to their teacher with like a pile of, oh, sorry.
This is Chris White, I know, right? How are you?
Okay, so yeah, they'll do all the assignments. They'll just wait till the end of the quarter to turn them in. I wish that teachers would be a little bit more strict with that, not just for the student's sake, but it also blows my mind for the teacher's sake, because instead of grading regularly throughout the quarter, suddenly they have 30 students, 7 periods of giant stacks of work that they just haven't graded yet. But that's not my job, not my responsibility. But with the students, we try to get them to constantly push that. If grades ever become a concern, we actually check the students' grade in Canvas portal every 2 to 3 weeks to make sure that they're turning their stuff in. We do that both at the high school and at the middle school level. So that way we can kind of make sure that they're doing what they need to do, but also if there's something outside of school that's affecting them or their performance, we can jump in to try to help them out as much as we can.
Yeah, for something that might be helpful to Jean, when I ask my mentee, how are you doing with grades? She immediately signs on to whatever portal tells her, and she tells me immediately what grades she has every place and where she is in the class and all that stuff. Herb's is different. He just says everything's fine. So he has learned to say, can you sign on to the portal and tell me what your grades actually are? And then they either don't know how to do it or they do it, and he kind of hounds them a little bit to do it, but they know what their grades are. So
Yeah.
Oh,
Same
okay.
they have
thing.
specific.
My mentee does the same thing. She logs in and tells me her grades, quarterly and how that's going on. And when she had a teacher parent conferences, how did that go? Is there anything you're struggling with? So she tells me her grades, but there are other mentees that just say, hey, it's fine, everything's good. But it'd be nice to know the actual grade levels.
Right, and you can
Right.
ask, and they
Mhm.
should be able to find it. And if they can't find it, that's a whole different problem.
Mhm.
So asking is not, it's not an out of bounds question. Because Z and I got matched up very late last spring, so we've never really been through, it was already so close to the end of the year that we never really had grade conversations.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
this is all new, and I don't want to push her and have her think I'm being nosy, but I assume I should know. And being an educator myself, we had online grading for years before I retired. So I assume they must have an online grading program
Mhm.
for the
There-
teachers.
Yes, the grading portal is known as Focus. And feel free to tell your mentees that Daniel told all the mentors that their mentees can log into Focus in front of their mentor to show them the grades and their attendance. I am what's known as the bad guy, the guy who comes in when they're in trouble, even though, I find it hilarious that they think of me like that. But you can always let your mentees know, say, hey, Daniel told me about Focus. Would you mind logging in to show me what your grades are, your percentages are? What you'll see is if they have low grades, it's typically because they have missing assignments. And that's typically because they haven't turned in the assignment that they've already done. It still blows my mind.
I find it odd that the assignments don't have official due dates that, when I was principal back in Maine, if the teachers allowed the kids to pass everything in at the end of the quarter, that would never be acceptable. So I don't know how that would happen.
They do have due dates. They just don't always follow them. Give me 1 second, sorry.
I guess they just don't submit it. That's, yeah, we gotta tell them, submit your work. I'm gonna tell
Well,
my mentee, what she
I-
does, but it doesn't hurt to remind her again.
I'm a former educator as well. And I know during COVID and with online school and all of that kind of stuff, everything got very relaxed about putting pressure on the kids to get things turned in. But now that we've passed it so far, there's so much time. Maybe it's time to be a little more, because in your work life, right, you can't just not meet a deadline. So
Right.
it doesn't do them any service by being lenient on that. I think another valuable question to ask the kids, rather than just what their grades are things like, what class are you finding most challenging right now? Have you been able to establish a rapport, particularly with your English teacher or your math teacher, because they're the ones that typically write teacher recommendations during the college application process. And so, to expand on that conversation about their academic performance, rather than having it be, I'm not saying don't ever ask about the grades, but there are other questions that might, elicit a deeper conversation than
Yes.
just what grades are you getting, but that's just my perspective.
Yeah. Mhm.
No, I agree. That's a good point.
So I just wanted to hit on my last point for everyone before, because the bell just rang for the students to be dismissed, so they're on their way to the meeting room. The last point I had is that we are starting to work with our highly performing juniors to apply to programs that allow them to be prepared for programs that are for highly qualified students. So one of the biggest ones that we have is known as the Sunrise Scholars Program. A representative from St. Petersburg actually comes down to present to the students. It's a requirement for all the juniors to apply. Last year, we didn't have any selected, but 2 years ago, we did have 2. And one of them went to Northeastern University, and then the other at University of Toledo. This year, we're starting the preparation a little bit earlier for them so that they can have in mind these summer programs that'll help them once they're seniors. And I included one of those, which is LEDA, which is, sorry, 1 sec. I really miss having multiple screens right now. But LEDA is Leadership Enterprise for a Diverse America, which brings in minority and low income level students, but they're performing strongly academically. These are students with high GPAs, high test scores, and strong attendance records. These programs are really great at getting students into higher level schools, such as the Ivy Leagues. Last year, we had 1 student go to Stanford and 1 to UPenn. And that's what we want for more students. So we're starting the preparation a little bit earlier. But right now, for example, I'm with the seniors. We're working on senior essays, Common App resumes. So I do have to end the Zoom here, but I'll initiate the breakout rooms. If you told me you wanted to meet with your mentee, they'll be in there. If not, feel free to jump off. But any last minute questions before I end the Zoom?
Daniel, for a future Zoom, I would love to hear from other mentors about moving beyond monosyllabic answers to reasonable questions. And obviously we don't have time to talk about it now, but I suspect others have wrestled with this, and I suspect some have emerged very successfully. And I can tell you that I'm in the pre-success category.
Here, here.
That's definitely a good one, and I will write that down for the next Zoom.
Thank
And
you.
actually, if we can't make, I was looking at the calendar, the
Mm-hmm.
dinner in November. If you can give us alternatives that we should suggest, if, to go out to dinner with their family or take their dinner out to their family out to dinner, is that an option?
Yeah, of course. And then what I'll also send over is the other dinner dates for the other classes. So if you're able to make one of those, it's no problem on my end to switch those up.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
I had to switch to the senior dinner because I'm gonna be in Peru when they're having the junior dinner. So Daniel's hooked me up with the senior dinner, which is gonna work out great.
Yeah, Daniel, if you can just send Terry and I those other dates for dinners, we
I
can
can-
see which one works.
Yeah, I can send it in my recap out to everyone.
That'd be great.
That'd
That
be
would be
great.
great.
Daniel, you have to go, but let us say thank you.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank you,
thank
everyone,
you.
for jumping
Thank you.
on. I
Michael-
initiate the
Michael-
break everyone.
Michael, how long have you been a mentor, working with a
Just a
mentee?
matter of months. I mean, just a matter of
I'm,
months.